Hello and welcome. I'm excited to be here with you today. I know a lot of you are in the midst of decision making, and I'm super excited to talk about round one decisions, what to do, what next steps look like. And I have quite a few topics to cover today. So we're going to talk to those who have been admitted, those who have been waitlisted, as well as those who have been rejected. What are some of the steps that you need to be thinking about and taking at this stage? As usual, we have the chat features open. So if you have any questions, please ask them along the way. I'll be happy to answer them live. I do have quite a lot to cover today, so we'll probably get to go through a question or two at the end of the day, just because trying to, communicate a few areas for different kind of candidates is definitely a lot to cover in 30 minutes. But, if you guys want more sessions like this, definitely happy to do more of these in the future. So just let us know in the comments if stuff like this would be helpful to you. All right, so just a few logistics. So our session will be for 30 minutes, and I have, as usual, put together a few slides to cover the topic for today. If you are watching us live, feel free to ask your questions live. If you are watching this as a replay, definitely feel free to comment in the post, and because we monitor them, and if you have any questions, we'll definitely be able to answer those. A little bit about me and a little bit about CA Admissions. So I founded CA Admissions in 2017, and we decided to focus our coaching very much on a personalized approach. So we offer tailored coaching to high achievers who are looking to gain admission to a top 20. We provide insider expert advice. Over the years, we've gathered quite a substantial amount of insights as to what schools are looking for, what are patterns that make for successful candidates, and we have a very robust and very detailed process in terms of how we work with clients. And we go through every step of the way as a partner. So our goal is really to partner with applicants to help them navigate this very important and oftentimes life-changing experience that they get by attending one of these top 20 business schools that we support applicants with. I am the founder. We have two coaches here on staff, and my background is I come with a educational training from NYU and Yale, and for the past 8 years, I've been a coaching, ambitious applicants gain admission to one of the top 20. Oftentimes more than one, but they end up attending one of the top 20 business schools. So let's dive into today's topic. So we're going to start with admitted students, then we'll move on to the waitlist candidates, and then rejected candidates, and then Q&A at the end. Again, if you have questions, please write them in the chat. I'll be monitoring my screen, which is the second screen on this side of on my right side, and seeing what questions come up. We're going to start with admitted applicants. First and foremost, congratulations. This is a major step in this. All the hard work paid off. You have an offer of admission, but what's next now for you? First and foremost, you want to celebrate. Make the most of the offers that you have of admission. Sometimes you only have one offer, which is still wonderful. If you have more than one offer, then obviously that's even better because it does help with the second point on this slide. So first and foremost, what does it mean to be admitted? Gaining admission means actually that you are a very strong candidate. You bring experiences that the business schools are looking for. You have clearly defined goal that the school believes that they're able to help support you in navigating this next step. Oftentimes when I speak to candidates that are joining, in their first year, in their second year, the imposter syndrome comes as a topic that they especially feel initially. And I want to remind you that if you're admitted, please don't feel, or try not to feel like an imposter. Really, this is about recognizing that you bring something that the next person doesn't have, and celebrate your own accomplishments and your own achievements to, recognize that you are bringing something to the table that the schools are actually looking for, and don't shy away from that. You may not have all the things that you want, which no one does, but don't dismiss the experiences that you bring to the table, because they are quite valuable. Now, with that celebration of your accomplishments, now comes time to also think about where do you go, and what does that look like? So first and foremost, you have to make a decision as to where you're going. And oftentimes, I did actually have a session last week on Saturday with the GMAT Club, where I talked about how do you navigate scholarships. This is something that MBA candidates or admitted applicants should be thinking about, navigating the scholarship component. So this is particularly helpful if you have more than one offer, especially if you have some money coming in. Definitely something to consider, writing a letter, presenting yourself as someone who is quote unquote deserving of a scholarship. Why do you deserve more money, essentially? And this is, you're advocating for yourself for merit-based scholarship and not need-based. Need-based is a different conversation altogether. As an admitted candidate, you also then need to make that final call. So which one you say yes to. And I would really think at this point from the perspective of what is going to give me the long-term ROI that I need, not just immediately post MBA, not just where I got the most scholarship. This is really about a lifetime opportunity that you're granted at this point. So it's a very important decision to make as to, who you're going to be associated with for the rest of your life. And make sure that you know where you're going, because that association can help you or can be neutral in terms of your opportunities. So, for example, if you're looking to go into healthcare, then the schools that you should be selecting or highly considering are the ones that have a strong network in healthcare. If you want energy, similar things, right? Where is their strongest network, and does it align with where you're looking to go? Then from this point, you are to prepare for your transition. Most MBA candidates have about 5 to 6 years of work experience, which means you have been 5 to 6 years out of school. You have to reacclimate yourself to going back to school. It's not a very simple process. So it's really important to make sure that you are preparing intellectually, in terms of making sure that you have the quantitative abilities that you need to succeed. If you're not that strong of a writer, that is a skill, right, that you need in order to be a strong leader, in order to be a strong communicator. If you're making a transition, do you need a scholarship, right? So these are the things that you should be thinking about as you're navigating this next step, especially round one applicants. You have several months until you start your MBA. Definitely make sure to maximize this period. Build your network before day one. Schools have either WhatsApp groups or Slack channels or anything like that that they are providing you with to connect with peers. But with peers as in round one admitted students, more and more students will join with round two decisions, and so on and so forth. But you can also start communicating with current students, understand what are the experiences that they have had, and how can you make sure that you are going in fully prepared. Please, I highly encourage you that you do not take this process lightly, because it will be very intense if you don't prepare in advance. There's no reason to do that, right? Especially if you know in advance that this is what awaits you. You can also, and you should definitely join pre-MBA program offerings. So every school has different offerings. Sometimes they have boot camps, sometimes they have leadership development, sometimes they have diversity initiatives. Sometimes they ask you to take a class, right? So Wharton, for example, has a shorter version of Harvard Business School's core program that they ask students to enroll in. Make sure you take those. They're there actually to support you. I know that you've been going through the application and don't necessarily want to go through this process one more time, but definitely enroll in those because it will make your life easier once you're there. And also plan for your summer. Most of you are planning probably to leave your work around May, June, depending on where what your life circumstances look like. And if you're looking to make a pivot in career, consider doing a pre-MBA internship. Or if you're not doing that, make sure that you are putting together an extensive reading list to make sure that you are ready when you are joining the schools in terms of being up to date with sort of the major topics that are being considered in the business circles, in the areas that you're interested in. Then you also, obviously, like I said, you're going to leverage the MBA offers. You're going to negotiate the scholarships. You're going to also reconsider your goals at this point. Up until now, you were thinking about, how do I get in, right? Now that you're in, what do you do? What do you want to do, right? Reevaluate your goals. Are they still in alignment? And make sure that you're making decisions based on your long-term goals, not just immediately. And then, of course, once you make your decision, be respectful in terms of how you are rejecting the other schools. Once you have made a concrete decision, let them know so that they can bring people from off the wait list that are waiting for those seats if you are not interested in them. But don't make that decision until you are 100% sure that this is the call you're going to be making, right? And no one takes away your spot until the final day of the deadline that they have given you in your offer letter. We're shifting to waitlist candidates now. So waitlist, what does a waitlist mean? Waitlist means that you are a strong candidate that the school is very interested in, and they want, they may not have had the seat available for you yet, or they're looking to see some kind of improvements in your profile. At this point, you are still in the running, which means you're still being considered. And this means that if you choose to be on the wait list, that this can actually extend until probably June. Obviously, ideally, you get off the wait list sooner rather than later, but it's always you want to make sure that you're doing all the right things to try to get off the wait list as soon as possible. So first and foremost, you want to look for ways to strengthen your candidacy. This holds two important elements. The first element is, you want to continue to show that you did not only do what you have accomplished so far solely for the purposes of your MBA, that you are a professional who is continuously looking to grow and continuously looking to develop. But also, should the waitlist not lead to an offer of admission, you will, if you end up reapplying next year, you will need to showcase development in your profile that will help you get a stronger, outcome next time around if you choose to go down that route. So it serves two purposes, but for the time being, you're obviously trying to get off the wait list. One element to at this point is to look at what are the weaknesses that you have, that you know of, where you can speak to the AdCom and see what insights can they give you on areas to improve. Oftentimes, it means that you didn't have a strong test score. It means that you probably didn't communicate your leadership the way they were looking for. So it's an opportunity to really reassess your candidacy. Sometimes applicants really put in quite a late application, which means it's not as developed as it should have been. And it's an opportunity for you to use this waitlist period to make sure that you are strengthening that profile, that presentation. Admission committees do expect that you're going to update them. There are some schools that have certain rules around update letters, but most of the schools will have an update letter that they expect of you to submit. Please recognize that as a waitlisted candidate, you will be reevaluated with round 2 candidates, which means your update letters should go out to the admission teams by the deadline of the next round, which is in January for round 2. At this point, you should be also leveraging professional networks to advocate for you. This could be, individuals that haven't written letters of recommendation for you, or it could be alumni of the school who are looking to endorse you. Some schools are more receptive to this. Obviously, these are all ways that you can strategize on what's the best course of action forward. Recognize that you don't have to do all these things by round 2. Update letters can be shared multiple times through the course of you being on the waitlist. Stay top of mind, right? There is a substantial number of students who are on the waitlist, and a small number gets off the waitlist, right? So you want to be making sure that you stay top of mind. Some schools have rank the waitlist candidates, as in, there is an order in which they're looking to say yes to those candidates, and some other schools don't. You don't need to play mind games. Just do the work that you need to do, which is make sure that you are sending frequent updates, but don't do it too much, as in don't be annoying, essentially. Then you're going to be writing those letters. So make sure that you are continuously presenting yourself as someone who is really interested in the program. This is a program you would say yes to. Connect with recommenders for those additional endorsements, as I mentioned earlier. And also prepare mentally, right? Prepare mentally for positive outcomes. Make sure that you're also developing contingency plans. Oftentimes, especially if you continue to remain on the waitlist past round 2 decisions, you're most likely not going to get any scholarship with that offer, even if you are offered a seat at the table. And that's something that you have to consider, right? If a scholarship is the only way that you'll be able to attend business school, then you have to have a different contingency plan. At the moment, we are a week and a half away from round 2 decisions, but round 2 deadline, excuse me. But there's an opportunity for you to continue to apply, right, in round 2. I don't necessarily suggest round 3 for most applicants, just because the seats are very few and far between. But definitely round 2, you can still apply for round 2, or consider next year. What does next year, what are opportunities that you can take advantage of to make sure that you are being strategic, continuously developing a plan of action. And of course, developing the areas that you are weakest at. So build skills, make sure that you are looking for ways to boost your candidacy. All right. Any questions at this point? I feel like I'm rushing through this process, but quite a bit to cover at this point. But if you have questions, please write them in the chat. Whichever platform you're joining us from, I'm monitoring to my right the screen. So if there's any questions that came up as a result of what I shared, please feel free to ask. So now let's move to rejected candidate. Rejection does not mean that you are doomed and never will be able for you to apply to business school. That is actually not the case. There are many reasons why candidates are rejected. Sometimes it could be, you didn't match what they were looking for in terms of academic performance, in terms of GMAT, GRE test score. It could be your leadership experience. Maybe you are too young. Maybe you are way too experienced. Maybe you're coming across as too much of a leader in terms of they worry that you may not necessarily be able to work with other people, right? This is about re-looking at this point at your candidacy, rereading your entire applications and discerning what are potential reasons as to why you were rejected. Schools do not tell you why you were rejected. Some schools who are generous, they can give you some insights around what are some areas that you can develop your profile further as you consider reapplying. But they will, I haven't heard yet of anyone who received a rejection and had a conversation with an admission representative where they were told exactly why they were rejected. So keep that in mind, but that doesn't mean that you should not try to gather intel around what are some of the reasons, because at this point it's not about staying down when you've fallen, right? It's about getting back up and being more strategic than you were the first time around. Sometimes applicants are rejected because the application didn't really have a strong presence. It didn't have, wasn't clearly communicated as to why you are the right candidate, what you bring to the table. And sometimes a lot of applicants have focused so much on their test score that they have neglected the other parts of the application. And this is really something that you do have to pay attention to all parts of the application, right? Everything counts in this journey. So analyze your application. What are some of the lessons learned from your previous application? Identify key areas where your application fell short. Was it the test? Was it your GPA? Was it your leadership? Was it your extracurricular experiences? Was it how you presented your experiences to the forefront? Were you being jargon heavy in your presentation? Did you have clear, concise goals and understand why business school is the right place for you? Why this particular business school that you've applied to? So, really take this time to reflect on those parameters of what they look for and how do you measure up in comparison. You can also connect with coaches. Obviously, admission teams are always the best in terms of they will know exactly, they can look at your profile and give you some specific insights in terms of what they were looking for. But also coaches can give you more insights in terms of, telling you what are some of the areas that you may have fallen short, and then also help you build a strategy around how do you navigate this the next time around. And also look at, if you reapply, are you going to reapply to this particular school that you were rejected at? And if so, how are you going to demonstrate that you continue to remain interested in this entire period of time and will be submitting an application in the coming year? So at this point, you're going to be looking at how you strengthen your case. So first and foremost, I always talk about this where I share how important goals are in business school application process. I sometimes speak with prospective applicants who are in an attempt to showcase that they are flexible to the admission team. They end up coming across as someone who is uncertain. And uncertainty when the competition is so high is not something that business schools are looking for. If you if you are interviewing someone and you have two candidates, one of them gives you more generic presentation of their experiences and the other one gives you more specifics around what are they looking to learn, what they're excited about in your company, what skills do they bring to the table. It's very obvious who you would choose. And the same thing applies to MBA candidates in terms of the admission committee's evaluation process. So look at your application and really be brutally honest about where you fell short. And it's not about, sort of punishing yourself for, not taking the right steps. It's really about learning from your past experiences and how you move forward. Everyone experiences failure in many points of your life, and this rejection is just a hurdle on your road. But this does not mean that it's the road ends here. And then, of course, you have to build a strategy on how you're going to address the perceived weaknesses. This means if you're applying in round 2, you can apply this strategy even for round 2 applications. So if you know that your test score wasn't there, if you know that you made some mistakes with your applications, how can you make sure that you don't repeat those mistakes with round 2? Because if you continue in the same path, you're going to have the same results, right? So you want to make sure that you're taking into account the feedback in terms of where the areas of weakness, and applying those or addressing those in other applications that you're applying in you are submitting for round 2. And then if you decide that you're going to be reapplying, because you can only apply once in a given year. So if you apply to Wharton in round 1, you cannot apply to Wharton in round 2. You can apply to Wharton next year, round 1 again, right? So at this point, if you are looking at reapplying, do so strategically. Start the process early, right? And the earlier you start, the only thing you're getting out of starting early is having a stronger application. Obviously, you start early and take action, right? If you start early but then don't take action, obviously we know where that leads. Make sure that you are building a timeline as to when do you need to retake the test by, when do you need to rebuild your candidacy, experiences that you need to have, and those take time, because if you want to have a leadership opportunity, you need to find the opportunity, you need to apply your energy, your efforts into that opportunity, and have enough time to demonstrate that there is some kind of success, right? So you definitely need to start that process early. But if you're applying to round 2, this is more around how can you quickly navigate the changes that need to take place in the next week and a half until round 2 deadlines. And of course, if you are reapplying, you communicate that growth as a reapplicant. You communicate the growth in your reflection, which most schools have a reapplicant essay, and you communicate that in sort of like the development, what has happened, what did you learn from your last year's application to the new year. I will tell you that schools actually look positively on candidates who are reapplicants. They see it as someone who is relentless in terms of really wanting to make sure that they get the best opportunities for where they're looking to go. So don't look at yourself as a reapplicant as negative, but rather this is a positive. I'm showing that I'm not giving up no matter what, and I'm also showing that I'm going to be developing my profile, or I have developed my profile before I reapply, so that they see that I'm a serious professional who is really looking to grow. Perfect. Now, if you want to talk about any component of your applications in terms of getting support, whether that is navigating your scholarship negotiations, reevaluating your application, or develop a waitlist strategy, or plan for round 1 next year, definitely feel free to reach out. There is a QR code on the screen, a link in the chat of whichever platform you're joining us from, and we can have a discussion around what happened and how can we support you on this journey. Excellent. So we have a minute and a half until the session is over. If you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat. I will be just looking at the questions that have come through the registration. Okay. Should I inform my employer now about my MBA plans, or wait closer to my start date? Depends on when you want to leave, and depends on what your opportunities to be. Sometimes applicants tell employers once they've made the final call. So you can unofficially share this if you want, and especially if they've been part of your journey. But if they haven't been a part of your journey, you can share with them around February, which is most of you will have decisions to make around that time. And you can inform them then. This also ensures that they have a contingency plan around hiring the next person that's going to replace you, but also you have an opportunity to close out what you have been working on. Sometimes applicants wait a little bit longer. So it really depends on where you work, what the policies look like, how much you like your team, all of those components. But do so respectfully, no matter what decision you make, no matter when you decide to tell them, do so respectfully. Burning bridges is not a good course of action. So, the world is very, very small. Excellent. Okay. Next week, we're going to be talking about deferred MBA candidates. So if you know someone who is a college senior or in college and maybe considering a future deferred MBA or a future MBA, definitely share the next week's events. We're going to talk about, how to put together a strong deferred MBA application, and sometimes it's helpful for those who are considering a deferred MBA, especially if they start early, because they need to build a very strong profile to be successful in securing a seat. It's actually much more challenging to secure a deferred MBA than a traditional MBA, and a traditional MBA is already challenging as it is. So please share this with your network, and in the new year, we'll be starting again discussing different components of the MBA journey. So I invite you to join us. Again, keep an eye out on our event page on cadmissions.com. Thank you again, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. I believe our session next week is going to be after Christmas, so if you're celebrating Christmas, Merry Christmas, and hopefully you have a wonderful time with your loved ones, and I'll see you next time.